Morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday.
Hold the pencil.
Today is Tuesday, April 26th. This is a regular meeting of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Good morning. Let the record reflect Commissioners Soboroff, Figueroa Villa, Saltzman, and Kim are present, and we have a quorum. Number one on our agenda is consent agenda items. We have no comment cards. Would a commissioner wish to pull an item as special?
Move approval of the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, that is A through H.
Thank you.
Next up is commission comments. Commissioners?
None for me.
Okay. Next up is report.
Excuse me, Mr. Vice President. We do have three comment cards on item number 2. We have Prentice Jenkins, Jojo Smith, and Ted Hayes.
Morning, Commission. Morning, Chief. Prentice Jenkins, publisher City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. I'd like to show a drawing by Urban Scrawl, downtown newsletter, the downtown news. This is a drawing, and it shows a huge 50-ton rock being carried in a wheelbarrow, and tied to that wheelbarrow is a small little donkey trying to pull a 20-ton boulder, and the boulder is considered to be police body cameras. And on one side, pulling the boulder, is Herb Wesson and Mitch Englander, and on the other side is Mayor Eric Garcetti, Vice President Soboroff, Chief Charlie Beck, and President Matthew Johnson. And they're pulling two different ways. And the caption reads, Mitch Englander and Herb Wesson are saying, now hold up, we got a notion we're paying too much for this cargo. That's the body cameras. We need to sit, spell, and think about what we're doing. And Chief Beck, Eric Garcetti, and Matthew Johnson and Steve Soboroff are all saying, leave go, ye sidewinders. Let this go. We're moving this thing forward. So apparently there is a tug of war about the police cameras because they're saying that there was no competitive bid. They just gave it to the first individual. That's what the city council is saying.
Jojo Smith.
I didn't see that.
Jojo Smith, Los Angeles Community Action Network. Time and time again, we come here to let y'all know that this body is a failure. Stop being a rubber stamp. Stop allowing all this money. Like, I just looked at all this. That's way too much money to be wasted for cups and pens. Like, can't we use our money to build for the youth? You know, that's our next generation. The youth needs money so we can keep them off the streets. You know, all we got to do is take 1% of the police budget, and we could do something for the youth. But instead, we want to shoot them in the streets and let Chief Beck and his goon squad keep getting away with murder. So I want to say today that Chief Beck is a failure. He needs to resign, and this police commission is a failure. Stop being a rubber stamp and stop sitting behind the police shield and start sitting behind the city shield. Because y'all, we see who y'all working for because it's the shield y'all standing behind. But you're really supposed to work behind the city, but you're not.
Next.
Ted Hayes.
Morning, Mr. Hayes.
This horrible document, the Use of Force report, let's look at something you've overlooked. It states here on page 51, a review of these categories is unremarkable in terms of the number of incidents and void of any discernible trends. There is one exception. However, in the ICD, that's in custody death, incidents in 2015, the department experienced 12 ICD incidents, which is an increase of 200%. When you're arrested and you go to our jail, you're held incommunicado. My arrest last week, I was placed in a cell with a bank of 3 telephones. Only one phone worked. That phone, when I dialed 213, it said, "You cannot complete your call as dialed." When I dialed 1213, "You cannot complete your call as dialed." When I dialed 310, "You cannot complete your call as dialed." Then I was placed in a cell that had a telephone, but it did not work. Now, I know you have not been trained to do searching as well as an officer is concerned, but I had this bag, and I had my wallet, my cell phone, and my keys in it. They never found this bag. It was not on my property report. This is why you have not found the way to ask the inmates, the people in custody, who is your next of kin we can contact in the event of your death. Because you'd have to go to your cell phone like I would, your wallet like I would, to get the card to bail out with. Oh, and this is why you don't do in custody deaths the way you should.
And we have no other comments, sir. We're on
Okay.
item number 3, report of the Chief of Police.
Morning, Chief.
Good morning, Commissioners. A couple of items to report on over the weekend. We had 15 overdoses where the fire department and the police department responded in Skid Row to individuals who had ingested spice, which is a designer-type drug that's made to emulate the properties of marijuana. As obviously unregulated. This was a batch that appears to have been connected and caused 15 overdoses, none of them fatal. Department and the fire department did outreach in Skid Row area to make sure people were warned and aware of this, and we have not seen reoccurrences since the weekend. We also had 2 officers shot at while attempting to stop what appeared to be a stolen vehicle in Southeast. Both officers are uninjured, and 5 suspects were pursued, and I believe 1 is in custody, and we're working on the other 4 as I speak. Preparing for May Day this coming Sunday. Last couple of May Days have been not been problematic, so we're hoping for the same. Over the weekend, we had 13 people shot in the city of Los Angeles. 12 of those were gang-related. 9 of them were in South Bureau. 1 of them resulted in a fatality that occurred in Harbor Division. All of them are currently under investigation, and the majority, as I mentioned, are gang-related and tied to ongoing gang feuds, primarily in South Bureau. We've had 14 more homicides this year than last. That's an 18% increase. We have a 15% increase in overall violent crime and a slightly less than a 1% increase in property crime. That gives us a total Part 1 picture of a 3.9% increase year-to-date as compared to last year. We are just about even in number of victims shot because compared to last year, we're up 2 over the total from last year. All of our bureaus are showing increases in crime. West Bureau is incremental at about a 0.5% increase, followed by South Bureau with a 3.3% increase, Valley with 5.4%, and Central Bureau is most problematic with a 6.2% increase. Categorical uses of force, most serious use of forces that come before the Police Commission. We're at 12 so far year to date. That is about 13% below our 5-year average. Traffic collisions. City of Los Angeles is up 7% in traffic collisions as compared to last year. Unfortunately and tragically, traffic collisions have resulted in 67 deaths so far this year. That's an increase from 52 the year prior. Hit and runs are about even, 3.3% increase, and motor vehicle versus pedestrian is our most deadly form of accident, obviously, and we're at 29 so far this year compared to 28 the year prior. We're at right at 9,800 sworn Los Angeles police officers, 2,700 civilian employees, 400 reserves. We have specialist volunteers and about 7,300 cadets in our program, and that concludes my report.
Questions of the chief, anyone? Thank you, Chief.
We do have 5 public comment cards on this item. We have Prentice Jenkins, Jojo Smith, Tud Hayes, Akili, and Paula Miner.
Prentice Jenkins, published a City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. I'd like to reiterate that is a picture of Waukesha Wilson. We have not forgotten her. She died in police custody. We still don't know what happened to her. I want you all to know I've never met Waukesha Wilson. But I do know this. A black woman died in custody. No one knows why she died. And the cops can't tell you why she died. This thing is really out of control. It's so out of control, I'll show you just how out of control it is. Famous line from And Justice for All by Al Pacino. The whole system's out of order when a woman goes to jail and ends up they say strangled, dead. No one knows how she died. That is Waukesha Wilson. Don't forget what she looks like, because I know you're going to forget it and we won't find out what happened to her.
Jojo Smith,
Keisha Wilson. Keisha Wilson. Jojo Smith, Los Angeles Community Action Network. You know, Chief Beck, you sit up here like you have no, why? Why are you here? You need to just get out of our system. You're nothing but a piece of shit. You ain't doing nothing for the community. All you're doing is taking more and more money to criminalize homelessness, because black lives do matter. You know, black lives matter. You don't see it. You don't see it one bit. You want to sit up here and just talk about what other communities are doing. What about your goon squads? Terrorists. Because we're not the terrorists. Y'all are the terrorists.
We moving the mixtape like Quake Bruce Bay.
Fuck the police. Fuck the police.
Tud Hayes,
There were no kicks, strikes, punches, or anything like that. But there's a new category.
Turn
that
your
the police
music
are
off, okay?
involved in. And it's called
Hold on,
torture.
hold on, hold on.
Torture is what occurred last week. When the president ordered people out, a young lady was videoing their exit at the door. And the officers tried to stop that. They interrupted that. They got in front of that, told her she could not do it. She went outside. They took her camera and put her in a hammerlock, arm lock. She was bent over double, screaming in excruciating pain. That was torture. I heard that. I stepped outside to observe, and they told me, go back inside. Well, the president said, go out. I explained to the officer I wasn't going to go inside and leave me alone unless they're going to arrest me. And that they did. They arrested me for standing in the hallway. They arrested me for observing a woman screaming in pain. That's a show called What Would You Do? What would any one of you do if you saw a young lady bent double with an officer with her arm behind her back in a hammerlock screaming? What would you do? All I did was watch. I didn't think it was a life-threatening move, but it could have been had she had a bad heart. But that's what happened last week. So the three of us went to jail. We were handcuffed and set in handcuffs for more than an hour and a half. That's kind of torturous also. And I explained in my cell, no phone worked. Not one. Couldn't make a phone call. Fortunately, able to eat the mashed potatoes and whatever that diet was that everyone else thought was horrible. But torture is a new category. Because when I went to jail the last 2 times, they did not beat me, and police officers took me to the hospital because of the torture.
Akili?
Commissioners, we are back. We are back because last week I was asked to leave. Not asked to leave, I was threatened. If I didn't leave, I would be arrested. And since I've been arrested here once before, I didn't think I wanted to repeat that one more time. However, I'm not opposed to getting arrested. We were here last week because we wanted to remind you, and had we not come here at all, you would not even be interested in Waukesha Wilson. You wouldn't even think about Waukesha Wilson. You wouldn't even know about Waukesha Wilson. We had a letter, and we asked for 3 things. Black Lives Matter asked for 3 things. 1, we wanted all copies of the video footage and photographs of Waukesha Wilson. 2, we wanted all the logs and other documents that listed the persons entering and exiting her detention center. And then finally, full and complete description of official procedures used by LAPD Metro Detention Center and others involved in city and county department notification of family, next of kin, the death of a family member. We asked for those things. We did them politely. Now, many of us have testified a lot over the time, and we have tried to do it in the appropriate way. But too many of us have been treated poorly. Too many of us have been exited. Too many of us have been asked to leave. So once again, we put this before you. We put this before you because we simply want answers. The family want answers. As simple as that. And we will continue to say her name because you will not. Her name is Waukesha Wilson. Say it. Say her name. Say her name. Say her name. I'd like to give this to the commissioner, and we asked for a response by this week. We're going to ask you again for this response for the three requests we have. Say her name. Waukesha Wilson. 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 Say her name.
The next,
Waukesha Wilson.
Say her name.
Waukesha Wilson.
the next speaker, Paula Miner.
I, too, uplift the name of Waukesha Wilson. Everything that we're talking about today relates to this so-called mysterious case. I want to talk about the arrest that occurred last week. Very interestingly, The young ladies who were arrested, including my daughter, were placed in the same holding cell where Waukesha Wilson allegedly had difficulties that led to her death. They also used the same payphone, where allegedly people have said she started a problem and may have hung herself from the cord of a phone. These are all the rumors that are perpetrating throughout the community. There's another rumor that she was found on the floor in the cell. There's another rumor that one of the unions, which is representing detention workers, was immediately called that day when she was found dead, just in case. So these are issues that are coming up in the community. These are issues that, until we have answers, will be publicized. We'll do our best to let everybody know, because if maybe our voices are not strong enough, because you can kick us out of here, you can arrest us, you can detain us, you can cause us to try to make bail, to do whatever it is to silence us. We will not be silent. And there are more and more people joining the voice. The other thing I'd like to say quickly before I lose my time has to do with the request that we simply made on April 5th from the chief and his staff. And it was concurred with by the president of the commission, Matt Johnson, when we asked simply, what is the notification procedure when someone dies in custody? Is it 4 days of a family trying to call? The LAPD never notifies. The coroner never notifies. It's been a month, and that procedure cannot be presented. That is highly unusual. City has procedures for everything. I know they have a way to notify when a person dies in custody. Say her name.
Waukesha Wilson.
Say her name.
Waukesha Wilson.
Say her name.
Waukesha Wilson.
Thank you. We have no other comment cards for this item.
Any more comment cards?
No, sir. We're now on item number 4, regular agenda items. We have a verbal presentation, and we have one item, 4B. Would a commissioner wish to hear item 4B?
No. Do we have a motion for approval of 4B?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You have a comment card on A?
We have the presentation, verbal
Okay.
presentation, and update from the commanding officer and Community Police Advisory Board representative regarding community-initiated problem-solving, crime strategies, and other programs and goals within the West Valley area.
Sure. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning, Chief. Good morning, Police Commission.
Morning, sir.
Inspector General. I'm Captain Rafael Ramirez from the West Valley area, and I am the commanding officer for West Valley. I've been there since January of this year, and just wanted to give you an update on the work that we've been doing with our CPAB. And with me today, I've brought Ms. Nani Shaked, who is our chair, and she has a presentation. We're working closely to try to improve the quality of life and to work with the community members to deal with specific problems in the area by addressing their concerns, and at the same time trying to improve the quality of life and address those specific problems that they have within their community. A couple of items that Ms. Shaked will be discussing is talking about the
First warning. Second warning.
is talking.
You're out. You can escort this gentleman out.
Is dealing with our the street cleanups that our officers are also involved in, which one of the items is taking back the sidewalks. And we've been in partnership with the Sunburst Academy dealing with that as well. So it's been a good partnership to try to improve our participation and our partnership with the community members. One other item I'd like to touch on before I pass it over to Ms. Shaked is the officers on the corner. We've been putting out the RV, our command post vehicle, in order to draw attention to the community and have them come over, ask our officers what's going on, what are some of the crime problems, what are we doing about them, and get some feedback from them as far as what they would want us to deal with. One thing that we will be pushing in the future is to take this vehicle out there in the corner and include our CPAB members so we can also do a walkthrough, do a footbeat in the area, and meet with the community so we can introduce them to the CPAB and also introduce them and possibly get some more membership in our neighborhood watch programs. So I'd like to pass this over to Nani now so she can continue on discussing our partnership.
Morning. Thanks for coming up.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you today.
Use the mic carefully. Carefully? I want to hear you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you today. I'm Nani Shakid, West Valley, Los Angeles Police Department Community Police Advisory Board co-chair. It's probably one of the longest titles I'll ever hold. But at the end, it really means that I'm... At the end, it really means that I'm a volunteer. I'm a resident of the West Valley area. I'm actually one of 250,000 community members in West Valley. I get to meet on a regular basis with about 40 other community members in the community. If you look at us as a group, there isn't really much that represent us as a group. Our age ranges from 30 to 94. We probably represent 10 to 12 different countries. Our income varies from low income to high end, south of the boulevard. Some of us are single, married, widowers, divorces, kids, no kids, kids in college that came back home. There isn't really much that bonds us, except for two things. All of us like to look at where we live as our home. We like to feel safe in it. We also like to see the area around our home as our community, an extension of our home. These are the two key items that bond us together, that allow us to have a dialogue and try to find things that another thing actually that we have in common is we all have a very good ability to point at things that are wrong, but we also realize that we didn't get far with that. So we started a dialogue on what we want to do, and we realized that there are two factors that we think will make a difference in our life. The first one is the environment, unity, where we operate, how we interact with the police, access to information other than 911 that the police can provide us. And the second one is a partnership with the community, with the rest of the 250,000 stakeholders and residents of the community that will allow us to improve and increase the size of our home and our community. And that has been our focus in the last year or so. And that has been also our guiding light that kind of pushes us through what we are doing. So if it's okay, I would like to talk about some of the projects and how they tie into the unity and how they tie into the partnership. Looking at the environment, for most of us, it's an uneasy feeling walking into a police station or talking to a police officer. So we started looking at least a non-emergency interaction that we can help the community with. One of those is access to information. Using today's technology, we have created a couple of tools for the community, from a simple tool that is called Ask Officer Joe, that allows anyone to go online and search for common information outside the 911 room. For example, what to do if my bike is stolen, what to do if my car is broken into, what to do if a house is broken into. And also allows the community member, instead of driving to the station, to send a question directly to the community relations officer, getting answers on a timely manner, giving them guidance as far as, do I need to come to the station, or what is my next step? We've also worked with the community on creating civilian ambassadors at the front desk, allowing for the help to the community to interact with the officers at the front desk, and also reduce some of the burden and allow the officers to be more effective at the front desk through the utilization of civilian ambassadors. We're at the level that we have about 3 ambassadors that have been certified by the officers. It's an unofficial certified, but allowing the civilian ambassadors to take initial reports and then pass them to the officers for complete takeover of the report. Again, effectiveness, giving the officers more time to deal with people at the front desk that they need to pay more attention to or that require more time. We also started using videos, continue to using videos to push information out, such as information from the senior lead officers, update videos on trends in their areas. We are holding on a regular basis community outdoor meetings, sort of a coffee in a cup, but on the street corner, allowing the community to, usually in busy intersections, or shopping centers, allowing the community to just walk up, speak to officers, allowing officers to interact with them, answer questions, giving them the opportunity to do quick training on any questions that are brought up during those meetings. And this program is going to be expanded more, as Captain Ramirez have indicated this year. Simple PSAs such as use of cell phone while you're driving, a lot of short 2 to 3 minute videos. All of this is website, Facebook, Twitter. We're trying to utilize as much as we can of where our community members resides at to give them access to information and interact with them. We are also teaming up with a production company to create a couple of a little bit longer PSAs. The purpose of this interaction is this is actually with the Krav Maga community and a production company, is mainly to educate the community and share information with the community on how common sense can save your lives in a way. It's when you walk across the street with your eyes in your cell phone. It is if you go running with your headset on. How a little bit changes in our own behavior can increase our safety. Another community project that is very dear to us is, and this really ties into the concept of having a home and a community, is claiming back the sidewalk. Under this project, we're promoting the thought that our house does not end at our front step. House extends at least to the sidewalk and beyond that. And we are using this to hold dialogues with businesses in the community. We are using this to hold dialogues with organizations in the community. The thought is that none of us want to drive to work in the morning and see graffiti on the wall, see the couches collection that we have on our streets and other bulk trash. And the only way to remedy this is, although, by default, it's the city's responsibility to remove these items, but unless we are the eyes and we tell the city that there is a refrigerator on the curb or there's a graffiti on the wall, it'll be very ineffective for the city to try to identify those points. So the message is, let's work together. Let's partner with the city. Let's do what we can and bring this information out so we can claim back our sidewalk. We can claim back our community. So we've just under this project, we have about 1,100 hours, volunteer hours in the past year talking to the community. And by the way, when we talk to the community, we usually meet with them, with the consul office is involved, the senior lead officers are involved, and every person leaves their contact information so a business knows who to talk to under what situation. Again, it's in spirit of effectiveness. Next project is a pretty interesting project. This project is a community coming together to dedicate a memorial walkway for a fallen officer. Officer James Bea was killed in the line of duty on June 5th, 1988. And here's a project where every group that joined us had a different motive. a different agenda for joining in. The officer that was, the sergeant that was leading the project started this as a school graduation project. The community members right around the walk, which is between Vanoan and Sherman Way, right next to the LA River, about 50 feet wide, the community was fed up of having that area as a dumping ground for the construction companies in the area. It was turning into a couch collection, shopping carts. So the community came in because they were fed up with that eyesore that was right outside their windows. The city came in because they got fed up with the phone calls from the community. Everyone, we had students joining us. The only thing they were interested in is community hours. Although we had zero common ground, all of us ended up with the same thing, an area between Vanoan and Sherman Way that is now a walkway. We cleared about, I think, 3 large dumpsters of greenery. By clearing of the greenery, the trash, now it's a safe area. When officers drive by, they can see behind the curve and all the way 50 feet back. This is a partnership that is across 4 agencies, Army Corps of Engineering, all the way to the county, Department of Public Work, LA City, neighborhood councils. It's amazing how many people had to come together to make this happen. End result, we now have a whole block of 50 feet wide that the community is using for walks, for recreation. We have neighbors crossing the street to water the plants, take care of the greenery, to trim it down. Just a simple project, simple idea from a community member who is also an LAPD sergeant, that standing back and watching it is, to me, it was very impressive as a resident of the area. On May 9, 2015, we had the official groundbreaking ceremony of the dedication, and it was a unique moment to see the officer's mom standing there with a plaque of the walk, holding it and looking up at the sky, and it was just a very unique community moment to be there. Another community event, our project that took an interesting turn, is under the theme of engaging community for a better tomorrow. This project is about how each individual can make a difference in the community. We all want a clean and safe area to live in, but it takes all of us to make it happen. It doesn't matter if you're a politician, a police officer, a teacher, a community member, resident, or just stopping by to shop. If we all do something very little, how things can change. In this project, we had about 4 or 5 organizations come together: LA City, LA Kings, the waste management, and we started as a recycling project at an elementary school. It's hard to touch on this project that has been going on for a year and had such a huge impact on everything, on everyone that has taken place, that was involved. It started with the fact that when we walked into the school the first day with officers, the first word that we heard is like, uh-oh, who's in trouble? And that was the principal. And the kids were like looking, not sure what to do. Today, actually on Friday, we celebrated together all these parties as one Earth Day, with kids putting together a fashion show to celebrate Earth Day. Under this project, last year we took 5 buses of students to the ocean for the first time. Students that live in Reseda that are 90% qualified for food assistance, seeing the kids for the first time playing at the ocean, playing with the sand. It's a project that you don't think about it when you think about quality of life, partnering with the police. This is also for us the first time that we partner with LAUSD. another partnership that you don't expect as a CPAB member. Last one is that I want to touch on is a project that is actually across the valley where all the CPABs come together. We decided in the last year or so, year or 2 years ago, that all the CPABs, we should start working together, talking to each other, the Valley CPABs. We constantly exchange ideas. We constantly work on joint projects, helping each other. Sometimes we joke about it that this is our AA for CPAB co-chairs. It helped us increase our partnership with OVB. A good example is right now we're starting the second year of Cut the Kaboom, which is a project focused on reducing illegal fireworks, trying to prevent or save another kid from going to the emergency room because of an illegal firework in the community or at home. It's pretty interesting to see the evolvement of working with the community. We're down to once a year celebrating it under the umbrella of Officer Appreciation Day around the holidays. During Officer Appreciation Day, we partner with 28 businesses in the community, with a consul office, with restaurants in the area, with about 40 volunteers. All of us come for 1 day of dialogue with the officers. It's one of the requirements for this particular day is for the community for the officers and the community to get free food. You have to sit and talk to each other. And we find that when the food is good, anyone will talk about anything, especially when it's free. We consider this project, this particular event, very successful if we measure it by the number of plates that we serve during the day. The first year, we barely served 120 plates, even though it was the same food, the same free food. In the past year, we served over 600 plates.
Good.
We are at the point where the officers and community members are literally lined up outside the door waiting for us to open the door so they can come in, start eating, and talking to each other. Quantities-wise, you're talking about 250 pounds of protein, 12 pounds of bananas, things like 500 cookies, 7 gallons of coffee. It's mind-boggling. I keep on using the term we, the royal we. What does it really represent? The royal we that we use at West Valley represents ongoing leadership meetings for every one of these projects that starts with leadership meetings with the captains. It continues with dialogue with the Community Relations Office and with the officers at the station. Every project, and I only touched on, I think, six or seven projects out of the, I could have spoken about the neighborhood watch projects, emergency preparedness projects, and other projects in the area. I just happened to use these. But every one of these projects is officers and the community working side by side to help us build a home, help us build a community, help us bridge what needs to be bridged as a group to feel safe, to be able to go to work, come back to a house that was not broken into, and be able to, take a walk at night.
Let's wrap because I want to ask you a couple of questions.
Okay. Last comment.
Okay.
A year ago, in the past year, there's been a significant change in the command staff across the valley. I think there's about 70+% of the command staff has changed, all the way from Chief Green to the captains across the stations. As a CPAB co-chair, we all have our uncertainty by getting new people to work with. But one thing has been very consistent in the past year. Every one of the command staff that came into the valley has raised the bar a little bit at a time when it comes to partnership. To me, as a community member, I'm happy to see this as a co-chair. I can only see the opportunities that are coming down the pipe, and I'm pretty excited. Thank you.
Thank you for what you're doing. I do have one question about the Ask Officer Joe program. I think you talked about it a year ago, and I wondered if you've had similar increases that you do with the food, chatting, where you went up 500%. How are the numbers on the Ask Officer Joe? It's a really great idea.
On the Ask Officer Joe, we have about 322 interactive search per month. Mm-hmm. And on the average, we receive 3 to 5 questions submitted through the Officer Joe. Mm-hmm.
Good. And is it growing?
It's growing.
Good.
Yes, the knowledge base behind it is growing, along with the complexity of the information that exists behind it.
Good. Other questions, commissioners?
We do have 2 public comment cards.
Thank you for what you're doing. For taking the time.
We have
two cards.
Prentice Jenkins and Ted Hayes.
Prentice Jenkins, publisher of City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. I'd like to know, in terms of police, community policing, who polices the police in your community when they shoot someone unlawfully? And don't get me wrong, I know there are many times that an officer has to shoot someone that he doesn't want to shoot because they're trying to kill him. So officers have to protect their lives. But there are occasions when, the cops just had a bad day. His wife's is divorcing him and taking his kids and taking part of his pension. And somebody's going to die and he can't kill her. So he goes out and kills somebody else. Who polices the police in your community? Who does that? I mean, we just found out that District Attorney Jackie Lacey is actually on the peace officers of Los Angeles County. She's on their board. It sounds like a conflict of interest to me. Sure does.
And stay on topic.
The topic is policing in the West Valley.
Community policing.
So,
not Jackie Lacey's campaign.
Community policing. Who polices the police when someone dies in custody? Who polices that in the West Valley? Who polices incidents where individuals have been gunned down in West Valley by police? All right. Who polices the police? We need to know that. I know it's the chief here, and the board polices the chief, and the chief polices all of you guys. But I'm sure in West Valley there's incidents of cops killing people and no one gets an answer. So the question is, who's policing the police in West Valley?
Next.
Ted Hayes.
Mr. Hayes.
2 questions. I assume you're the commanding officer of West Valley?
Yes, sir.
It indicates that you are in a low density area. Does density mean the same thing as low crime?
One more time.
It indicates violent crime occurrences after okay, and it has colors, and it has yellow for low density. Is density the same term as low crime, low density?
I'd have to look at the report.
No, it's not, Mr. Hayes.
Huh?
No, it's not.
Okay, thank you. Now, I don't know whether you have a booking procedure, a lockup.
Yes.
You don't have a lockup?
We don't have a jail there.
Oh, so when suspects are arrested by your officers, what happens? Where are they taken to?
We're transporting them to Van Nuys jail.
To the Van Nuys jail. Do they search the suspects prior to taking them to? And if they searched and found something, could they possibly find something this large? Or would they overlook it, not find it? The reason I'm asking this is because even under those circumstances of not being locked up at your station, they could possibly die in custody. Do you have a procedure for in-custody deaths? Do you have a next of kin process for an in-custody death?
You don't have to answer any of these questions.
Dialogue between you and the area captain. You can make your statement, and that's it.
We'll just hear your public comment.
I want to know something about what these.
You can
Look,
ask the questions, but
you don't know a procedure for in-custody deaths. How do you contact the next of kin? You don't know that. Maybe this officer does. Why are you silencing him? Let him speak his knowledge. He can just say, yes, we know, or we don't know. What's his procedure on an in-custody death? You don't have one. Oh. I beg pardon?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hayes, your time is up.
Have you read the Brown Act? I can't have a dialogue with these people.
Mr. Hayes, your time is up, sir.
Address the commission. That's what
No.
you sign up to do. Your
Read
time's up.
the
Next.
Brown Act.
Time's up.
Are you the lawyer today?
Mr. Hayes, that is your first warning.
Warn me all you want.
Next.
We have no other comment cards on this item, sir. We're now on item number 5, public comment. We have 10 comment cards. The first 5, Prentice Jenkins.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Maria Mortensen, Mia Miner, Oscar Ortiz, and Mariela Seba.
Prentice Jenkins, published a City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. Public comment. In custody deaths.
NBC News Angie Crouch live with their emotional plan that you're going to hear here for the first time. Angie. That's right, Carolyn Unique was serving just 2 months here at the women's jail in Linwood after violating probation on a drug charge. Now, her family says she suffered from asthma but was not allowed to keep her plastic inhaler inside her cell with her for fear that it could be used as a weapon. Now, her family says she died of an asthma attack while calling for help, waiting for deputies to bring her that inhaler.
Wow. Wow. She
Where
died.
was that? Where was that? Linwood?
Linwood, yeah. She died in custody because all she needed was her inhaler. She asked deputies to bring her inhaler. The woman would have been alive had they just brought her inhaler. She died because she had an asthma attack, and all they needed to do was bring her inhaler. That's another in-custody death, a death that could have been prevented. Absolutely could have been prevented. But yet, this young lady's in the ground because sometimes cops, they call it the Fraternal Order of Police. You know what a fraternity is? It's a frat house. You know what frat boys do? They do all sort of things, panty raids, throwing pumpkins off the top of the building. That's what frat boys do. The Fraternal Order of Police, Fraternal Order of the Fire Department. So when you're dealing with this Waukesha Wilson's mother, I'm glad you're here, ma'am.
Thank you. Next.
Maria Mortensen.
My name is Maria Mortensen, and I have given each of the commissioner my whole investigation from December 12th until now. Police officer gave me a citation for supposedly making a left turn into Norm's parking lot from the intersection of Woodman and Sherman Way. From Sherman Way into there was no such thing. I stood in the middle lane. I have rechecked it and rechecked it with people who saw it. I was not, the police officer said that I have told her that I made the left turn. I couldn't have. I was taken to the hospital to, I think it was in Mission Hills. I have a bill of $51,000 for that night that they have presented me. Now, the police officer made a lot of errors in her report, and I am here to ask for that report to be stricken, the party that hit me, that hit my car, has a rented Mercedes-Benz. And all they had to do is just check the black boxes in the Mercedes-Benz. And that would tell alone that they were speeding and they hit me or they pushed me into it. We have a lot of problem in the valley with people getting into accidents. They make you go into accidents. And I have in my paperwork to the police commission and to the chief of police, I have presented it because I didn't know about it. And that news release was given or put on the internet on the 6th
Thank
of
you,
November.
ma'am.
I was hit
Your time
on the
is up.
12th of November, and I couldn't figure out.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Tefank, wouldn't this go through the court, in the court? She's appealing the ticket?
Mr. President, if it's a situation involving guilt or innocence related to the issuance of a traffic citation, that would be properly adjudicated in the court. As to anything that she is alleging the report is in error, we can provide that to the department and they would give an appropriate response to it.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Next.
The next speaker is Nia Miner. And the beeper is not working, so please note your time, and I will let you know when your 2 minutes are up.
3 weeks ago, we came to testify for Waukesha, and we were met with ignorance. 2 weeks ago, we came to testify for the family of Waukesha Wilson, and we were met with disrespect and laughter. 1 week ago, we came to testify, and we were met with hate, violence, oppression, and torture. A community member asked, who's policing the police? I would think it was the man sitting right in front of me and the men and women sitting around him. But last week revealed to me your complete lack of power in situations, lack of the ability to give clear orders to officers in this room, and it made me concerned about the orders you give to the men and women on your police force outside of this room, outside of this building. The proceedings of the LAPC for the last month have been disgraceful. We demand an update on the request letter presented to the commission last week. We demand charges against Tut Hayes, Jasmine Richards, and myself, Nia Miner, be dropped. They are unfounded and reveal disregard for the community, for the democratic process, and the absence of training and policy that would support community members, that would protect community members, and that would manifest justice for community members. You all seem unconcerned. I can notice that by the computer screens that are lighting up your face. I am not surprised by your blank stares, the lack of dialogue in this room, and apathy. I see it as a challenge, and I accept that challenge. I accept that challenge in the name of Waukesha Wilson, Brother Africa, Riddell Jones, Izelle Ford, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, Eric Gardner, Michael Brown, and the many daughters, sons, mothers, fathers, and grandmothers and grandfathers that have been murdered and brutalized within your oppressive policing system. We want it to stop.
Thank you, Ms. Miner. Your time is up.
We keep getting stronger, and we reveal the weakness of this system. I want you to think about that.
Thank you.
The next speaker, Oscar Ortiz.
Morning.
Morning. I'm here to demand answers for Waukesha Wilson's death. Her family has been waiting for 1 month now. So if you could imagine how long that wait is for their family, it's probably pretty torturing not knowing what happened to your daughter in custody or your mother when she has passed away for a month now. And also here to demand answers to Paula Miner's request for details on the procedure to notify families after someone dies in custody, because we've seen that vary a lot, and we've seen that as in the case of Izelle Ford, where they go months without knowing anything that happened to their family members. I also want to point out that this council and the officers around here are putting so much effort into try to silence the questions that these people have, and not enough energy going into answering their questions and concerns. And there's no way that Nia should have spent 8 hours in jail just trying to film something that your officers were doing and it seems pretty obvious to us that you're putting effort into helping your officers hide what they're doing. And if you were just doing honest work, then you wouldn't have to worry about all these things. So yeah, we just seems like it's more of a waste of time. You know, you're causing more problems for yourselves. You're causing more problems for us. It's a waste of our tax money, and we just want answers to the questions that these people are asking you. Well, the case for Waukesha Wilson has been a month now that these people have been asking for you, and it seems like a pretty big concern, and we still have no answers whatsoever. So please give us some answers on that.
Thank you. Mariela Saba, followed by Jamie Garcia and Lisa Hines.
I'm going to take advantage of our community space right here. On a daily basis, our bodies, our faces are tracked, traced, and framed suspect in the eyes of the state. Watch us as we work hard to survive, live with dignity. Watch us how you sexualize, compartmentalize, standardize our bodies. White supremacist lies suffocate life. Disillusions. Systems are set up to criminalize our breath, our existence, control our movement, lock up our resistance, outside and inside, steal our livelihood with the system of law, enforced by force, policed by overseers. With violence, violate our humanity, murder us in the streets, in our home, behind closed doors. There is a war on the land, war on the streets. Laugh at our pain. With disdain, sustain structures of poverty, structures of slavery. I'm talking to you, descendants of slave masters right here present. Upholding white supremacy. Patriarchy holding us up hostage. Got our whole world flipped upside down. We get sick.
Ms. Saba, your time is up.
That is right. And mujeres up there, you girls got to wake the fuck up, mujeres. Con mucho corazón te lo digo.
Next.
Wake up, mujeres. Stop being silent up there with all these white men and men of color. You got to wake up. I came to talk to you all today, okay? And I'm reachable. Next week we're meeting with Matt Johnson, May 3rd. This is on. This war has been on, and we are so sick. Next, now.
The next speaker, Jamie Garcia, followed by Lisa Hines. Jamie Garcia, your time will begin.
So Matt Johnson not being present is an example, again, of failed leadership. Oh, well, you've decided to walk into the room finally, and you think this is all funny. I'm not surprised. I was going to speak to you, Kathleen Kim, because you're one of the only people up here sometimes that I think has a shred of dignity and a shred of concern about what's going on. So what happened last week was absolutely disgusting. Matt Johnson, you push all this money into reforms, de-escalation tactics, but fail to exercise these tactics yourself. The community was expressing their outrage, their sadness towards the loss of Waukesha Wilson, but that could not be honored or allowed. LAPD should be ashamed that Miss Wilson died in their custody. This is an example of the violence of policing and how just being in the vicinity of your structure causes harm to the community. After we honored Miss Wilson, we sat down. We are organized. We know how to get our message across. We know when to speak truth to power. We know when to mourn. We know when to speak. We know when to continue with the energy of this space. Last week, everything was fine until you attacked. Let me remind you again, this is not your space. It is our space. You are to represent our concerns. You are to protect our concerns. You have failed again. When you arrested Jasmine, she was already leaving. She was already in front of me. She was gone. By having these officers grab her in front of me, I fell forward. I fell forward, and I had to stop my fall because they grabbed her. They grabbed her. Again, your officers having no idea what public safety is, only violence. These charges should be dropped on Nia, Jasmine, and Mr. Hayes.
Thank you. The next speaker, Lisa Hines, followed by Akili, Ted Hayes, Hamid Khan, and Zuma Dog.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Hines. I'm the mother of Waukesha Wilson. I'm here to ask you guys, can somebody please give me some answers? I haven't heard from no detectives, nobody. I just want to know what happened. I know she didn't kill herself. It's too many different rumors. I don't mean to come up here and cry because I know my tears don't mean anything. But to talk about this over and over, it just tears me up inside. Don't want nobody contact me. They said it was a suicide, and I know different. I know different. I didn't have the money to bury her because they didn't honor my policy for her. I had to raise money. But I did it. I got it done with the sort of support of the community. We came together and I laid my baby to rest on the 16th of this month. And I still can't rest because I don't know what happened to her. And I'll say this. I'm not saying she was murdered. I know she had an altercation with an officer. Maybe they went in there and they did something and it got out of hand. But be the man, be the woman, and say that. Didn't nobody call me or anything to notify me that she had passed away. I kept calling. I was at court. They knew she died on the 27th. I was at court on the 29th. And didn't nobody say anything. I was calling the 29th, the 30th. They told me they didn't know where she was. How you guys don't know where she is when you arrested her, she's in your custody? Then that Wednesday, they told me the watch commander wanted to talk to me. I'm calling all these days. Nobody tells me anything. They don't know where she is. They're trying to locate her. That was a lie because they knew she was deceased already.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. Your 2 minutes are up.
Let her go.
I don't understand. Because if it was your child, you would be feeling the same way. I know you would. You would want answers. You would ask questions.
Ma'am, I'll discuss with the chief, and I'll make sure that someone reaches out to you very soon to share with you what we can.
How soon is that?
Commissioner, I had a meeting scheduled Monday, and it was canceled. And my office is open to you if you want to come and talk to me, as has been arranged on Monday.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The next speaker, Akili, followed by Ted Hayes.
How do you follow that? Last week I was asked to leave and threatened if I didn't. But Ms. Hines is here. I mean, I was going to just say shame, shame, shame. Do our citizens have to come here and plead with you to get answers? Do our residents have to come here and put themselves out to get answers? Last week was the worst example of your de-escalation policy that I've seen. If that's the way you're going to de-escalate, that use of force policy has failed already. The first thing you did, the absolute first thing you did, was confront. Your command and control policy doesn't allow you to de-escalate. You threatened me with arrest, and you arrested 3 people. That's not de-escalation. That's moving to confrontation. That's moving. That's moving to take people. This woman wanted answers. She doesn't know what happened to her child. We want answers. We ask you for 3 things: the video, the log, and the policy. And we'd like to get an answer. We'd like to get it by next week. But we wouldn't like that. This woman needs that. And out of decency, we ask not only just to meet with her, but to answer her questions, to help her understand why it is she doesn't have a daughter alive today. Say her name. 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 Say her name.
Thank you. The next speaker, Tud Hayes, followed by Zuma Dog and Hamid Khan.
When I was booked, I was asked several questions, but never asked, who shall we notify in the event of your death or an injury or any occurrence like that? And the reason that question isn't asked is because of these items in this bag, which I had, which are never identified as being part of my property. In this bag is my cell phone and all my addresses and telephone numbers. In this bag are the keys to my residence, and in this bag is my wallet with all my credit cards and debit cards. The very instruments I need to bail out the debit cards, credit cards are in this bag. Everything I need to call my son or my sister is in my cell phone. I don't know their number. I rely on punching this item to get them on the phone. But this bag was never found. It was never identified. It was never booked. How could that possibly be? If you want to deal with in-custody deaths, you must allow people to go to whatever resource they have with them to notify their next of kin, telephone, wallet, whatever. But people are held, and I was held incommunicado. The telephones didn't work. I was taken to a cell where the telephones one phone was operative, but it kept saying, you cannot, this phone will not be completed as dialed. Just dial 213-310, and it will come on until it can't be completed. But if you want to get the next of kin, someone has to allow you to have your phone. If you want to be bailed out, someone has to allow you to have your credit cards, and that's in your property, and they will not allow you to have your property.
The next speaker, Zuma Dog.
Thank you, Zuma Dog. If you go to zumadog.com, you could read my response to Mike Bonda's homeless strategy for Los Angeles. Very important. Now, you know, I'm very surprised when I walked in here. I sued the city in federal court over free speech during these public forum, public comment meetings. I'm walking in the door, Chief Beck, you know, with all due respect, what the hell are you doing? You know, and Soboroff, you know, God bless you. I don't know what you guys are doing. You're aware of the lawsuit. I might have to remind you with the follow-up, okay, because it's outrageous. Now, unfortunately, you do have to endure personal attacks. The language, the judge ruled, it's civility, decorum. No, you know, people have different standards and ways to choose to express themselves, and you must endure that. Secondly, they could ask questions. Tud Hayes, yeah, he could ask anything he wants. He could, you know, you just can choose not to answer, but you're allowed to respond afterwards, so you're perfectly entitled to ask questions. So just shut the fuck up and don't interrupt the speaker, okay? Now, I can't believe that Todd Hayes was arrested under any circumstances unless he was like trying to reach for somebody's weapon or something. So let's just, in an advisory role, I think that the way it should be around here, yeah, these people, they get frustrated, you're violating their rights, you're doing all kinds of crazy shit, and, maybe they get, what you do is you just escort them out of City Hall. You just escort them out of City Hall. Okay, there's no reason. I would please ask you to drop the charges on these people because, I didn't see this stuff yet, but unless it's like grabbing your guns and like really being nuts, and I know Todd Hayes, give me a fucking break. Drop the fucking charges. What's wrong with you people? Okay, so I had to talk about other things. Now, I know that elections for Board of County Supervisors are coming up. I want you to know that Mitch Englander, he's out there running around saying that he's a police officer. He's a wimpy council member. Please admonish him, tell him to stop, and throw your support behind anyone but Englander because we can't have this council puppet schmuck running around saying he's a police officer. He was found purposefully deceitful. Please support somebody else. Thank you.
And the final speaker, Hamid Khan.
Yesterday, the city of Cleveland settled a $6 million lawsuit with Tamir Rice's family, the 12-year-old boy who was murdered by Cleveland police within 2 seconds of showing up. I'm reminded last week that when we were summarily booted out by you, Matt Johnson, and I know other folks have spoken about the de-escalation policy. I mean, obviously, you immediately flunked out in the enforcement of that policy. But what you missed out was the emotion that people were bringing to the podium in our comments. A week before that, some of us had gone to Waukesha Wilson's service. And we heard her son speak about the death of his mother. And it reminded me of my own daughter. It reminded me of Tamir Rice. It reminded me of so many children who are expressing their pain, who are reaching out to the rest of the community to do something. A young man who's not going to see his mother again. A parent who's not going to see their 12-year-old son again. 311 people have already been murdered by law enforcement in this country already. LAPD is again this year leading the charge with 7 killed, 6 or 7 killed. Last year, 1,145 were murdered by the law enforcement. LAPD led the charge. You started earlier on this year by making a big hoopla about the de-escalation policy. But with the first time it was supposed to be enforced and used, you failed out. You flunked out. So the question really is that, yes, we are meeting next Tuesday. We have a community meeting with you. But what should be our expectation? Should it be looking at a failed leadership? Should it be as somebody who's the agent of the mayor and doing the mayor's bidding? Should it be any expectation that everything, all the dialogue and the drama that goes on here, anything would ever change? Because even today, when we see the names, is that happening because we've been coming here? Or is it just out of good faith by putting these names, officer-involved shooting and all? So the question still remains that what we are repeating constantly is
Mr. Khan, your time
that
is up.
this is something that is flawed by design, and you can't reform it, simply.
We have no other comment cards on item number 5. We're now on item number 6, closed session. We have 1 card on each item. We have Prentice Jenkins on 6A1.
Mr. Khan, you asked about why the names were on the agenda. That was not something anybody asked for, but it was something that I felt was important to add a greater level of transparency for the people that come here every week, so they would be able to easier track the cases. Yes, it will.
Waukesha Wilson.
Mr. Jenkins, are you ready to begin?
Officer-involved shootings. I figure instead of talking about officer-involved shootings, I think it's important for us to actually see an officer-involved shooting.
Recuperating from a massive head wound, Walter De Leon told us here in September that after an LAPD officer shot him, he wanted police to be better trained, that he spoke for all victims of police shootings who did not survive and who, like him, turned out to be unarmed.
My words don't go are not said way that something does happen.
Today, 10 months after the near deadly encounter on Los Feliz Boulevard, Chief Charlie Beck and the police division find that the officer who fired the 3 shots had valid concerns for public safety. Though De Leon was not armed, it appeared to responding officers and to witnesses that De Leon had a gun wrapped in a towel and aimed to shoot. Most revealing an emergency call from a witness before the shooting. He reports De Leon instructed him, call 911. Let them know I, De Leon, am going down the street and I have a gun in my hand. When we spoke to De Leon,
So what does that do? Remember what Malcolm X said, I'm for the truth no matter who tells it. I'm for the truth no matter who tells it. I'm for justice no matter who receives it. So there's a witness that says, yeah, officer, Walter De Leon pretended he had a gun. Now, whether that is factual, we don't know. But they do have a witness. So I guess the officer is cleared.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. 6A2.
This is the dog bite, and it's number 36. Now, I don't know how this is handled, but it indicates that you must investigate or make a determination on these things. And animal regulation determines whether an animal is actually vicious. And if they make that unfortunate determination, the animal has to be put down, executed, terminated, killed. So I don't know whether these things are transferred to animal regulation or not, because they are the deciding factor. Other than you may make some conclusion about how well the trainer or the handler dealt with his dog, but animal regulation is the deciding factor when dogs bite human beings. If they're determined to be vicious, they cannot allow them to go home again. So that's what I was concerned about with this, because then there's another, and this is number 40. So it seems to me that if these number of animal bites are taking place, the so-called revision of the method in which animals are trained and taught to retreat and bark, it's not working very well. So that's what I was concerned about. Now, on the Brown Act, Commissioner Soboroff, here's what it said. Legislative body or its staff may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by persons exercising their public testimony rights under section blah, blah, blah. So if you didn't want that officer to respond, some member of the staff should have responded. The staff can respond. This is what it says. So if the chief was going to protect the officer without being recognized by the president to do so, the chief should have responded.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Hayes.
what the
Your
Brown
time
Act
is up.
says. You could have, and you should have.
We're now on item number 6A3. Mr. Hayes.
Use of force. This shows a police car with bullet holes in the windshield. The next page, same bullet holes in the windshield. Another page, bullet holes in the windshield. Is this officer firing out of a car through safety laminated glass? They should have been wearing this because it wouldn't be gunshot residue. It would be glass in their eyes. So apparently somebody's shooting up the police car. 3 pages of the same image in use of force. So I'm led to believe that this force was directed toward police officers, not officers directing force through the windshield at a suspect. If they did that, they were really desperate, and they shouldn't have been trained to shoot through laminated safety glass because it pops back at you and your eyes. So when you put a book like this out and everyone believes you're showing a police car being shot up, you're really trying to raise the specter of sympathy for the poor cops that are being assailed by a full state of bullets coming through their window. 3 pages of that image. Not a well-balanced image. Not one image shows anybody being accosted by the police. Not even being cuffed up. Something very simple and regular. So this is what's so corrupt about this. I'm going to dwell on this document for quite some time and show you how to do it correctly, how to do it right. Back to the dogs for one moment. I have read the use of force published by the Inspector General, and dog attacks are mentioned in there as well as other things. So we'll talk about in due time. 40 dog bites so far.
Thank you, sir. The last comment card is on item 6B, Mr. Prentice Jenkins.
Prentice Jenkins, publisher City Life newsletter, activist since 1991. There's a discussion of possible board action on consideration of appointment of civilian hearing examiners pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. I've constantly requested that the board create a subcommittee of activists like us, a subcommittee that would work in conjunction with the police commission. And I can't get that on the agenda. I would ask the President, Matthew Johnson, to put that on the agenda at one point, asking for a subcommittee of activists, to create a subcommittee of activists to work with the Board of Police Commission. If I can get the President, Matthew Johnson, to put that on the agenda, we would certainly appreciate that. Civilian hearing examiners. That sounds like somebody like some dope like me that you're putting together. Are these people going to be paid to do this also, President Johnson?
The hearing examiners are paid.
Oh, great. So,
unlike this board, that is not paid.
Okay. Well, this board doesn't need to be paid, especially Mr. Soboroff. Mr. Soboroff should pay you all. He still has billions left. He knows what I'm talking about. There's that smile. So, Mr. Johnson, can we get that on the agenda? The subcommittee of activists. Is that possible?
Thank you, sir. Your time is up, Mr.
Thank you
Jenkins.
for your time.
That is the last comment card. We are now on item number 6, closed session. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item number 6A, 1, 2, 3, and 6B in accordance with Government Code 54957. The Board of Police Commissioners has concluded its work in open session. In closed session, we are back in open session. In closed session, item number 6A1 was discussed, and the Chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. In closed session, item 6A2 was discussed, and the Chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. And in closed session, item number 6A3 was discussed, and the Chief's recommendations were unanimously adopted. In closed session, item number 6B was discussed. Mr. Vice President, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move we adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I'm in Little Tokyo, and you're watching Channel 35, Your City, Your Channel.